What's going on? How everybody doing? I'm well. I'm back at practice today, so I'm thankful.
Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not the critics, and definitely not the Browns coaching staff. For weeks, Shedeur Sanders had been quietly working through training camp. Limited reps, lingering soreness, and a crowded quarterback room had him buried in the depth chart. Most people thought he'd fade into the background. Just another name fighting for scraps behind NFL vets like Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. But then it happened. A single throw, a single moment, and suddenly, all eyes were on Shedeur. Tony Grossi, a veteran Browns reporter known for being brutally honest, stood in front of cameras and gave Sanders the kind of credit most rookies never get. He called it the play of the day, and not just out of sympathy. This was a 3rd and 17 situation, high pressure, tight coverage, and Shedeur nailed it. The question is, was this a fluke or the first spark of something much bigger? And just when you thought that was the whole story, his former Colorado teammate made a move that might just change his football future forever. This isn't just about a single practice. This might be the beginning of an unexpected takeover.
Hi everybody, it's Tony Grossi back with your Cleveland Browns training camp report. Day 10, we are presented by Maloney and Novotny. Well, day 10 was the last day of open practices for the fans. They saw the return of Shedeur Sanders after missing one day with a sore arm, and Shedeur treated them to the play of the day. They were in a field goal situation period. And
Day 10 of training camp was supposed to be just another routine session for the Cleveland Browns. Fans showed up, the media did their usual rounds, and reps were handed out like clockwork. But the energy shifted the moment Shedeur Sanders stepped back onto the field. He'd been out the day before with what was described as arm or shoulder soreness. Nothing too serious, but enough to raise a few eyebrows. In a camp full of seasoned quarterbacks and hungry prospects, missing a day can mean missing an opportunity. So when Shedeur returned, expectations were modest at best. But what followed caught everyone off guard. Not only did he look comfortable, he looked locked in. He was moving with confidence, reading the defense, and more importantly, delivering the ball with sharp precision. The sideline chatter started. Eyes began to drift toward number 2. And then, Tony Grossi, the same reporter who's never been one to hand out compliments lightly, singled out Sanders for the play of the day.
Shedeur faced a 3rd and 17 situation to set up a field goal. 3rd and 17, man, he fired the ball over the middle to Luke Florio, who was pretty well covered. They converted that play and went on to kick a field goal in that play.
This wasn't just a bounce back, it was a statement. And for a young quarterback fighting to be seen, it couldn't have come at a better time. It wasn't just a solid throw, it was the kind of moment that instantly flips the narrative. 3rd down, 17 yards to go. In a high-pressure field goal drill meant to simulate game conditions, Shedeur Sanders stood behind center, fully aware of what was at stake. With a collapsing pocket and defenders closing in, he fired a dart over the middle to tight end Luke Florio, who was tightly covered. Somehow, Sanders threaded the ball in stride, hitting Florio in a near-impossible window. The crowd reacted. Coaches nodded. And on the sideline, veteran reporter Tony Grossi took note. He didn't just say Shedeur made a nice play. He called it the play of the day, a title that usually belongs to veterans or starting QBs. Coming from Grossi, that praise meant something. He's not the type to get swept up in hype.
That at all, or did you just know?
No, of course, it's definitely something, in your mind. And I always think about I always hear my dad's voice in my mind, all the time, because it's always bone and blood. You know his motto, and you know his slang with everything. So, of course, I was definitely hearing his voice in the back of my head. But at the end of the day, I want to be productive. I want to give you guys the best work, and I want to be at my best at all times.
But this wasn't about hype. It was about execution under pressure. For Sanders, it wasn't just one highlight. It was a glimpse of what he could become when given a real chance. Efficiency? 7 completions on 9 attempts. Poise? Undeniable. Confidence? Clearly growing. But as impressive as that moment was, it might have meant more than just a spot on the highlight reel. Make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders isn't walking into a clear path. The Browns' quarterback room is already packed. Joe Flacco, the Super Bowl MVP turned journeyman vet, took the lion's share of reps, finishing 9 of 12 on the day. Then there's Kenny Pickett, still nursing a hamstring injury, but slowly re-entering the mix. And Dillon Gabriel, though limited, is a proven gamer with upside the coaches have been watching closely. So where does that leave Shedeur? Somewhere between the radar and right under it.
I look at it at my own point of view. Like, I don't want him coming to see me right now because I want to get to where I want to go then for him to see me. I don't want him to come and see me, get a couple reps and, he's cheering like a good dad. Like, nah, you can't be proud of me right now. I got to get to where I'm going, and I know it's a lot I got to do to get there. So it's kind of like I just want everything that I'm doing to just like focus on this time, and I don't want no distractions because we know how the media, we know how everybody would take it and take away from the team just from him being my own dad showing up. So, it's a gift and a curse.
Despite fewer reps, his efficiency stood out. 7 completions on 9 attempts, with the most talked about throw of the day. That's not just production, that's pressure management and clutch instinct, both hard to teach and even harder to ignore. More importantly, with Pickett and Gabriel limited by injuries, the window for Sanders to take more meaningful reps is opening. And if he continues showing flashes like this, the coaching staff may be forced to look twice. Training camp isn't just about who throws the most. It's about who makes moments count. And Shedeur, he just made his first one. But this story isn't just about competition. There's something deeper fueling Shedeur's drive. Something tied to doubt, expectations, and everything that came before. Respect in the NFL isn't handed out. It's earned, usually over time. But for Shedeur Sanders, time is a luxury he doesn't have.
He's not an NFL quarterback, not right now. And the fact they keep running him out there for first-team reps, and part of it I get because Kenny Pickett's banged up with the hamstring injury, so there's not a lot he can do. But this goes back. They have been putting him out there first with the 11-on-11 going back to the offseason program. They're cramming this guy down our throats, and it's not good.
Coming out of college, Sanders wasn't met with the overwhelming praise some top-tier QBs enjoy. Critics pointed to his mechanics, questioned his arm strength, and whispered about whether his fame was more about his last name than his skill. It wasn't just media chatter. It was doubt from every corner. Then came the training camp soreness. One missed day turned into speculation. Was he too fragile? Was he ready for the speed and grind of the pros? In a league where narratives move faster than the game itself, Shedeur was slipping into a box he never asked to be in. But that's what made Day 10 so important. That single throw, that single moment wasn't just a completion. It was a punch back at the noise. A reminder that he's not here to play a role in someone else's story. He's here to write his own.
It's not a height thing. It's not personal. I mean, he's rolling out and he can't hit guys that are wide open. He is not all that great at times during the warm-up periods. He's pretty good during 7-on-7 when there's no offensive and defensive lines, but he's just not a good quarterback. And he's a third-round pick. And I talked extensively yesterday, as you mentioned, on my show with Nick Padone. The problem that I have right now is that the Browns are forcing me to look at a third-round pick who has no business being in contention to start a football game this year.
Still, while Sanders was rewriting his script on the field, one of his closest allies was making moves of his own. A former teammate who took an unexpected leap into pro football in a different country altogether. While Shedeur was turning heads in Cleveland, another name from Colorado was making quiet waves north of the border. Justin Mayers. You might remember him. 6'4", 320 pounds of raw power on the offensive line. He shared the trenches with Shedeur back at Colorado, protecting him during a season full of hype, pressure, and noise. And now he's taking a different route, signing with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the CFL. At first glance, It might seem like a step down, but dig deeper and it tells a different story. Mayers had his shot in the NFL earlier this year during rookie minicamp with the Denver Broncos. Solid college resume, all conference honors, over 480 offensive snaps, and just 2 sacks allowed during his final season. The talent was never in question, but the NFL can be brutal, especially for linemen trying to claw their way into crowded depth charts. So, he took the alternate path, one that many overlooked players use to prove they belong. In Canada, Mayers won't just be another backup. He'll get reps, film, and the chance to dominate. And if he does, a return to the NFL isn't just possible, it's likely. But just like Shedeur, Mayers is betting on himself, and he's not looking back. Moments like these rarely seem significant, until they are. For Shedeur Sanders, that 3rd and 17 completion may look like a simple training camp highlight, but in a league where reps are limited and attention is scarce, it could be the spark that shifts perception. He's no longer just Deion's son or the rookie with potential. He's the guy who stepped up when nobody expected it and got the media to admit it. That matters. Coaches may not always say it out loud, but standout moments shape depth charts. They earn extra snaps. They put players in front of decision makers, and when other QBs are nursing injuries or struggling to connect, it's the one who seizes the moment that often rises. As for Justin Mayers, his journey proves that not every win comes inside the NFL bubble. While others chase practice squad spots, he's suiting up as a pro, building game tape, and staying in football shape. It's a longer road, but sometimes it's the one that lasts. The truth is, both Shedeur and Mayers are chasing respect in different ways. One with a single throw, the other with a cross-border leap of faith. And if they keep stacking moments like these, they might just rewrite the stories that were written for them. Every NFL season has its breakout stars, but the ones we remember, they're usually the underdogs, the players nobody expected, the ones who refuse to be forgotten. Shedeur Sanders just threw himself into that conversation. What looked like a quiet return to camp turned into a public turning point. That one throw may not guarantee him a roster spot or a starting job, but it did something far more powerful. It shifted the tone. Reporters took notice, coaches saw composure, and fans, they're starting to ask a different question. What if Shedeur's actually the real deal? And then there's Justin Mayers, grinding miles away from the NFL spotlight, proving that the road to greatness doesn't always follow a straight line. He's betting on himself in a different league, in a different country, but with the same hunger. Both of them are walking the tightrope between being counted out and counted on. And while the headlines might fade in a day or two, the impact of what they did this week won't. Because every comeback, every breakthrough, every NFL success story starts the same way, with a moment no one expected, and a player who refused to let it slip away. This chapter, it's only getting started.